Hey, I'm John Coley with Lake Martin Voice Realty, and this is my 2020 market report summary for Lake Martin, Alabama. I'm a full-time agent here on Lake Martin, and so I guess if this video is sponsored by anything, it's sponsored by me. So if you're looking for Lake Martin real estate, or if you'd like to sell your Lake Martin real estate, please give me a call. I'd love to help you out. I do this full-time. All right, so let's get right to it. 2020 is, I'm sure, whatever market you're coming from, you would know that this was a record year for Lake Martin real estate, and just how big a record it was continues to shock me. So let's take a look at the sales, and then let's also take a look at the inventory that we experienced in Lake Martin. Okay, so first of all, let's look at 2019. We had in 2019 we had 369 waterfront home sales in 2019, and that was a record, by the way. That was the number one. Previously in 2019 was the number one year ever. And we did it at the time with about 182 homes on the market. And these are going to come be out. I know 369 is higher than 182, but just kind of hang with me. About 182 homes on the market. Now, what happened in 2020? So anybody that's been following me or been following anything has known it's not going to come to a surprise. But 482 homes were sold during the year for Lake Martin real estate. Okay, so 482 waterfront home sales, but we only did it with about 77. I just ran these numbers quickly, but about 77 waterfront homes for sale on average during the year. So that's what's so crazy about it is you had an extreme drop in inventory, about 42% down from last year's average, 2019's average of inventory or waterfront homes for sale on the lake. But yet, the whole time we had that huge of a drop with inventory, sales went up to 482, that is about 31% above the previous best year record. It is our 5-year average was about it's 43% above our 5-year average. And just to put it in perspective too on inventory, the 5-year average on inventory was about 179 homes. So last year, 2019, was a pretty average inventory year, but yet that just goes to show you too, almost like 42% drop in inventory. This is what created the big pricing pressure at Lake Martin in 2020. Huge increases in demand or quantity demanded, huge decrease in quantity supplied. It was like trying to buy toilet paper in April, if any of y'all remember how that was. Craziness. All right, so, you know, I struggle to find superlatives for 2020, and so I tried to kind of, you know, bring it on home and try to find like a real world example if you can find this. If whatever your business is, or whatever your grades are, whatever you do for a living or life or whatever, if you increased 31% in 1 year over the next, what does that look like? And so here I tried, okay, let me think of people that are 31% taller than other people. And so here's my example. Shaquille O'Neal, okay? He is 31, he is 7'1", 7 foot 1 inches, Shaquille, all right? And then I thought Harry Potter, whatever the Daniel somebody, I forget what his name is, Radcliffe or something like that. He is 5 foot 5 inches tall, right? And Shaq is 7'1". So if you really check it out, Shaq is 31% higher or 31% taller than Harry Potter. That's how much better 2020 was than 2019, and 2019 being a record year. That's why it's so mind-blowing. How many of you noticed that I switched to a Harry Potter wand for that illustration? I hope not many of you. Hope not many of you are nerds like us, but we love Harry Potter around here. Okay, moving on. All right, and a question I get a lot is, okay, we know the sales are blistering and all that, and what are the prices like? What were the prices like in 2020 for waterfront homes sold? All right, so I'm going to run down the raw numbers, and then I'm going to run down percentages. The raw numbers are going to be off a little bit because I had to round. It's a long story, but this will give you a good idea, okay? All right, so starting in our first band, $0 to $250,000. How many were sold during this period? 33, or about 7%. Now this is, let me just break right here and say, this is coming from the Lake Martin real estate, the Lake Martin multiple listing service. So this is all homes and condos in this section. but this is all brokerages, all agents, everybody in the whole association is reporting these numbers. Does it include FSBOs? No, it doesn't. But because I'm comparing these year to year, I think it tells you the trend, okay? So on the Lake Martin MLS, only about 7% of homes, condos, townhouses were under 250. So if your budget is under 250, you're looking at about 7% of the market. All right, 251 to $500,000. About 159 sold, or really pay attention to the percentages, and these are getting small, I know, 33%, okay? So we can say that a third of the waterfront homes sold were sold between 250 and 500. All right, so let's go to 501 to 750. 146, about 30% is the next biggest band. We're going to go down here, but we're going to see 30% were sold between $500,000 and $750,000, which is mind-blowing, I know to say, but it's just the way the facts lay out. All right, 750 to 1 million, about 58 or 12%. And then I started really having to break these down because there's a lot of numbers here. 1 million to 1,250,000, about 31 or about 6% were sold. 1.25 to 1.5 million, 26 or 5%. 1,500,000 to 1,750,000, 10 or about 2% of the market. 1,750,000 to 2 million, 13 for about 3% of the market, and over 2 million, about 9 for 2% of the market. So you can say, looking at these numbers, what's again nutty to me is somebody that's from Ellick City, grew up in this market, grew up with my dad as a real estate agent. It's hard to wrap your mind about it, but we can say 7% of the market was 250 and under. 7% of the market was $1.5 million over. So an equal number of homes were sold under 250 and over $1.5 million. If you'd have told me that 2 years ago, I would have said you're crazy. This is going to be one of the largest bands. So wrap your head around that. When people ask me, hey, what does the average home cost on Lake Martin? I tend to fall in this band now, about $500,000 to $750,000. This is a pretty large number right here. Some people have asked me, well, what was the top sale for 220? And I looked it up, and it was $5 million was the top sale. Did I sell that one? No, I did not, but I would love to one day. Congrats to those who did. The number 2 sale was a $3 million sale. And so obviously those would be 2 of the 9 in this highest. Pretty incredible. All right, so what happened with lots during 2020? Was it the same story? Yes, it was. Looking back in 2019, we had 58 lot sales, waterfront lot sales from all agents, all brokerages all over the lake. And they had the 5-year average back then for lots on the market was about 180 lots on the market at any one time. What happened to inventory? Same thing. The inventory went down in lots even more than in homes. There was a 76% decrease in inventory for waterfront lots. Huge. 76% decrease from your 5-year average about 180 down to 43 waterfront homes for sale at any one time on the lake. Nutty. What happened to sales? Just the same thing. All agents, all brokerages, we sold 143 waterfront lots, which was 146% better than in 2019. So for lots, it was even more of an incredible year than in home sales. As wild as home sales were, when you have a 146% increase, there's no, I mean, maybe there are humans that I could find that somebody that's 146% taller than somebody else, but I couldn't come up with like a Shaq versus Harry Potter comparison for this one. 2019 was not the best year for waterfront sales at all. As a matter of fact, it was like the 7th, I had to go back 7 years to find one that was as bad as 2019. And so I had to look, okay, well, I can't, comparing it to 2019 really doesn't tell you like how the best versus the best. So I look back, the previous record for waterfront lot sales was back in 2005, I believe, where all agents sold 96 waterfront lots. So it was still 46% better than the previous best year ever. It was the 5-year average is about 69 lots. So it was about 100% better than our 5-year average. So any way you slice it, lot sales were even more incredible in 2020 than I guess home sales too, but they were still incredible. Here's another thing too I get asked about a lot. if you look at the month-by-month sales for waterfront lots in 2020, it rocked along pretty normal. January, February, March, April, and then in May it was like boom, June, boom, July, boom. So that told me was that people in March and April, when the pandemic panic hit and everybody was coming down to the lake and and not going to school and all that sort of thing, that's when people started buying lots, because like 6 weeks after that is when you started seeing those closings. So that was pretty incredible to watch. But wow, if you were a lot under in 2020, congratulations, you timed it perfectly. All right, so what were the breakdowns for prices for lots? All right, let's take a look at this. All righty, again, my numbers may be a tad off because of rounding errors and all that sort of thing, but don't, you fellow math nerds, don't hold me to it. I mean, all right, $0 to $100,000, about 11 lots sold, and that's about 8% of the market. The next band of 100,000 to 200,000, about 17 lots were sold, or about 12% of the market. 200,000 to 300,000 market. Now this is going to be the fattest band on the board right here, okay? Because we see that about 33 lots were sold, or about 23% of the market. And so 300 to 400 is a healthy, it's no shame. 25 for about 17% of the market. 400 to 500,000, about 29 lots for about 20%. And then 500,000 and over is the same number, 29 for about 20%. So, like I say, if you were to ask me, hey, what's the average lot on Lake Martin, say, 5 years ago, I'd have said, about 125,000. Now, I don't. Now, because of these stats I see, I would tell people $200,000 to $300,000 is the average, because that's probably not mathematically correct because I haven't run the averages. Okay, I know what I'm saying, but maybe that's the mode or something like that. I don't know. That's the fat part of the bell curve. How about that? If you're looking at a bell curve and then you slice it down like that, this is going to be the top of that bell curve. $200,000 to $300,000. What was the lowest sale? It was $45,000 for a lot. It was up on the north end of the lake. And what was the highest lot sale? $1.2 million for the highest lot sale. And that was like, it was out, I'm pretty sure that's outside of a neighborhood. It was a large expanse on a big water. There were several sold from I thought about breaking this down to 500 to 600, then 600 over, because there were several in that $700,000 to $800,000 range that were pretty interesting. But anyway, there you go. Lot sales by price. And here's another, I always kind of like to throw in a little oddball thing at the end here. Hope my thing doesn't fall. That's close. For any of you who are familiar with the Pareto principle, have you heard of this? It's the 80-20, some people call it the 80-20 rule. People say 80% of something is done by 20% of another thing. And you hear a lot like, maybe like sports, in sports, like 80% of the money is made by 20% of the athletes, or, 80% of the profit. Here's another one I heard, like 80% of the profit in any of y'all remember movie theaters, remember that? We'd go to a big building, have popcorn, sneak in candy. 80% of their profit comes from 20% of their operations, meaning their candy sales. That kind of stuff, 80-20. So I got curious, does this apply to Lake Martin real estate? So I started looking up to figure this out. All right, so if we take the 482 sales last year, 482 home sales, waterfront home sales, that sounds like a lot. Wow. Until you figure out, hey, there's 315 agents in our market. So I always hear like, oh, you're selling Lake Martin, you ain't got to sell but one or two of those and you got it made. Well, if that averages out, 482 sales averages out to about 1.5 sales per agent. And trust me, that's nice, that's awesome. Hey, any sale is a good sale, trust me. I've been in some down markets where you're glad to get anything. But however, selling 1.5 houses a year is not gonna, sustain a business, pay for your kids, and shoes and all that stuff. So that's not a whole lot once you think about it. So then I tried to break it down a little bit farther and figure out, okay, of the top agents, how many are selling, do we fall into this 80-20 rule? And so what I found was, and I guess I could keep on going to 80%, but what I found was 8% sell 70% of the homes on Lake Martin. So of those 315 agents, The top 8% sell 70% of the homes. So it's even worse than the Pareto principle. Now, what does that mean? I will say I'm very honored to be in this 8%. This year was a great year. Praise the Lord. Like I say, I've been in some down years where, you know, it's crying time. It got pretty rough, like 07, 08, 09. I mean, you know, those were some crazy times. So I'm very, very praising God. We had a great year. But let me say this. It sort of opened my eyes a little bit. And trust me, I think that, you know, anybody can pick an agent, and that's the good thing about real estate. You got a lot of different agents for a lot of different people. But if you would like to participate and you would like to employ one of the agents in this top 8% that have 70% of the action, I would love to help you out because I'm one of them. Again, my name is John Coley. I'm with Lake Martin Voice Realty. And if I can help you out, either selling or buying, I would love to. Thanks a lot.